this is my home, and I want to feel like you and I are sitting across the sofa talking to one another. I had the privilege of having so many people participate. They said, we have questions that we would love to have you talk about or answer. If we had an hour together with you, this is the one thing, or this is the two things. And in this session, we're going to be talking about another way to love fearlessly. I got a great question. Said, what is your top 5 pieces of advice to anybody in their marriage, early, late, wherever they're at? And this is the top 5 marriage advice. First and foremost, love fearlessly. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about love fearlessly. This is the overarching theme. What do you mean, love fearlessly? Well, perfected love has no fear. So I'm asking you to actually look at your life and begin to separate love and fear. I'm just going to tell you in my own life, John and I have been married 37 years, and there's one thing I regret. I wish I would have loved my husband more fearlessly early on. I wish I wouldn't have held back. And you think, what do you mean? Well, see, I came from a very broken family. My parents were divorced, not once, but twice. And so I didn't know what family looked like. I had never seen it modeled. And so I felt like, kind of in the back of my mind, I always thought all men will one day leave. All men will one day disappoint. Don't give all of your heart, because if you give all of your heart and they leave, you'll have nothing left. Your life will be empty. It'll be devastated. It'll be utterly broken. So you know what I did with my husband? I loved him just a portion. I wasn't all in. I was like, you know what? I love you 70%. Now that didn't mean I wasn't nice to him, but somehow he knew that I wasn't giving my all to him. And so I reserved some, pushed back a little bit, was always the first one to start patting him when we hugged, to push him away. And he said to me, you know, Lisa, I'm not your dad. I'm not going to leave. I don't know how long we are going to have to be married before you actually believe me that I'm not looking for a reason to leave you. And I looked at him and I thought, that is so unfair. But I also knew he was right. He said, Lisa, if we need to wait till we're 70 and you turn around and you look at me and say, oh, you're still here. I expected you to leave 20 years ago. He's like, I'm okay with that. But we are going to miss an awful lot of great times in the interim. So I said, all right, you're completely correct. And I got on my knees and I said, God, I don't know how to love fearlessly. I don't know how to do this. I need you to help me. And you know what? God wants me to love fearlessly, and God wants you to love fearlessly. And so I'm going to unpack that a little deeper in the next section. Next thing, so first, love fearlessly. And this is part of loving fearlessly. Forgive quickly. Forgive quickly. I have learned that the longer it goes to resolve something, the more reasons I have for not resolving. It grows in my mind. It gets bigger. You know, when John and I were first married, we'd go to bed. I would still be mad at him. And he would do ridiculous things like pull off the bedspread, stand up, turn on all the lights and say, we are going to work this out before we go to sleep. We're not supposed to let the sun go down in our wrath. And I would say, you know what? We started fighting, but it was already dark. I have until sundown tomorrow. And he'd be like, that's not scriptural. I was looking for reasons to hold on and to not forgive quickly. So I remember I would have bad dreams about him that night. We'd have a fight. I'd be like, you were even mean in my dreams. He'd be like, I was not in your dreams. I don't know what you're talking about. And I would carry it into my next day and I would be on edge. Forgive quickly. That doesn't mean you'll have it all figured out. That doesn't mean you'll have it all resolved. It just means you've taken the first step. Forgive quickly. Decide, that really hurt me, but I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to believe the best in you. I don't know how many of you have ever gone to God and said, I am so sorry. He has never said to me, Lisa, I can't forgive you right now. I'm going to put this on hold for 3 months. and then you can come back when I feel like you have paid enough. No, he always is quick to forgive me. And what I sense in my spirit is that God says to me, Lisa, I believe you don't want to do this. I believe you want to change, and I forgive you. So believe the best, forgive quickly, forgive quickly. So love fearlessly, forgive quickly, laugh a lot. You need to laugh a lot. Life is utterly ridiculous. You need to have joy in your life. You need to learn to laugh a lot. You know, one of my favorite scriptures is in the Psalms, and I believe it's Psalm 128, but that could be wrong. It's about those that fear the Lord. It says there's feasting and laughter around the table. Why? Because when we honor God, God creates community and love and laughter in our lives. He said, because you wouldn't serve me with joy and gladness. He said, you're going to serve your enemies in fear. So we don't want to think that God isn't about laughter, about joy, about family around the table. God wants laughter in your marriage. He wants joy in your marriage. John and I love to laugh together. We have completely different senses of humor. He finds things funny that I don't think funny, but you know what? I think it's funny that he finds it funny. So it's still kind of works. So laugh a lot. Develop an atmosphere of laughing with each other, not laughing at each other. That's not going to work for you. So when you can learn to laugh at yourself, you move outside of yourself. Next thing, honor one another. Honor one another. Honor one another when you're together, but almost even more important, honor one another when you are not together. I can't tell you the regret I have that when I was young and I didn't know how to go through a marriage issue, I told way too many people about the struggles we were in, and I dishonored my husband. Now you think, well, no, you were looking for solutions. I wasn't going to the right people. See, if you're going to somebody that can actually help you, then you're honoring your relationship because you're going to somebody that you can build with. But that's not what I was doing. I was like, oh, men are jerks. Can you believe this? Or maybe I wasn't even the one that started it. Maybe somebody else was there and they were talking about the terrible things they were going through with their husband. And I thought, well, I need to add my portion of that. Protect your marriage with what you say. Honor your marriage by going to people who can help you. Because I'm going to tell you what happens. When you talk to too many people or people that aren't for both of you, then when you resolve the thing and those people come back into your world, they have a really hard time seeing your husband the same way. They're like, that guy's a jerk. And you're like, yeah, he was a jerk, but he's not that person anymore. And they're like, yeah, you just don't know what you're talking about. So we always want to have this ability to talk about believing the best and bringing out the best. Now, if your husband's doing horrible things and he's threatening your life or breaking your spirit or there's something really unhealthy, you don't honor that. You don't honor that. I'm talking about maybe you're annoyed with your husband, or maybe he did this. Be careful about just going out with your girlfriends and having a talk about it. So anytime you're in danger, we want to see you go to somebody who can make sure you're safe. So this isn't what we're talking about. So we don't want to compare. We don't want to compare our husband to other people's husband. And again, going back to, did we like it? If they're like, hey, she literally looks good. She looks like she takes care of herself and works out. You should work out. That's not honoring a wife. That's not honoring a wife. And when you compare your husband to somebody else's husband, it's also dishonoring. I remember telling my husband, John, so-and-so prays with his wife every day. You never pray with me. That was a comparison thing that had my husband looking worse. So you don't want to do that. So let's honor one another and fight for your relationship rather than trying to prove you are right. See, now you can be right. You can push your point and you can be absolutely right. But it's more important to be rightly related. When you are in a relationship, sometimes if you say, you need to hear me and acknowledge I'm right. See, I did that to my husband. My husband would come to me and say, what do you think we should do? Should we do this or this? I'd be like, you need to do this. And he'd be like, I think I'm going to do this. I'd be like, are you serious? He would do that. Then I would follow him around and say, you do remember I told you not to do it. You do remember I'm the one who told you that would be a bad idea. And I thought that John would be like, oh, Lisa, You are wise and wonderful. You alone are right. But that's not what happened. He pulled away from me and stopped counseling with me. Sometimes you have to actually position people where together you find the right answer and you can say it in the right way. Being right all the time is overrated. You don't want to do it. You don't want to be it. It kind of sounds like a smart aleck. So we got to actually be women who are wise. And women who are wise aren't constantly proving their own state of wisdom. They're actually drawing other people into a place of wisdom. So I'm going to go over this again. Love fearlessly, forgive quickly, laugh a lot, honor one another, and fight for your relationship. So those are my top 5 pieces of advice for your marriage.